Hello, everybody. My name is Leandro. I'm a product marketing manager at Microsoft, focused on Entra. I have here with me Nick.
Yeah, my name is Nick Ryder. I'm a principal product manager.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. And today we're going to be doing a talk about secure access for AI agents. This is the third webinar into the series, and we're excited to talk to you about Microsoft Entra and how we are helping you secure your agents. So just to provide some context up front, the expectation is to have 1.3 billion agents by 2028. So just to put things into perspective, this is roughly the population of India today. And as of now, by end of 2025, we had around 110 million agents. So there's going to be a huge increase in the number of agents. Since we spoke about the agents, and then what are the key things that actually we are hearing from customers today when it comes to concerns related to the huge increase in the agents? Number one is, how do I get visibility into all agents in my environment? This is related to Agents Pro, which is a top concern to customers. The second thing, after having visibility to the agent, what kind of access and authority does each agent have as well? What kind of resources is the agent having access? The third thing is around being able to fully trace and audit or have a backlog of everything that the agent did, so you can have full visibility about all the tasks performed. And the last thing is how to protect organizations to make sure that no agent is compromised or make sure that no agent goes rogue. The key thing here is that the adoption of agent is actually already happening. Near half of the large organizations that we speak to, they have already deployed some kind of agent. And most leaders, they're expecting employees to be managing agents in the next 2 to 3 years. So not only managing other employees, but managing agents as well. But at the same time, the key challenge or top blocker for adoption is around cybersecurity. So 78% of folks mentioned that this is a top concern when it comes to the agent adoption. Then the good news is that from a Microsoft perspective, we believe that the best way to manage agents is to leverage the same tools and products that you're already familiar with. So for example, today we have around 1 billion customers or users already leveraging Microsoft Entra in order to control identity and access of applications, devices, and users. So there's no need to learn any new skills here. You can leverage the same skills now in order to protect your agents. But what is unique about agents? So you should be probably familiar with the concept of having identities in order to control access of users, applications, and devices. But agents that actually have a different behavior, so they need actually a unique ID as well. For example, agents, they can actually behave on users depending of the workflow. Sometimes they may behave more like an application, but unlike traditional apps, they're not static, which means they can acquire new skills depending how the LLM powering the agent evolves. For that reason, agents, they need a first-class identity treated with the same rigor where we treat users, apps, and devices already. Now, let me transition to Nick, who's going to provide a deep dive into how Microsoft Entra Agent ID actually works.
Thanks, Leandro. And that's why we're excited to introduce the Microsoft Entra Agent Identity. The simplest way to think about it is that every agent gets a unique first-class identity, so it can be known, managed, and secured just like other identities in the customer's environment. Once an agent has an identity, you can control its access to resources such as apps, the cloud, users, and even other agents. The goal is to make agents visible and accountable, so customers can adopt agents confidently without creating a new set of blind spots. This is about scaling agents without scaling unmanaged risk. A first-class identity improves accountability and auditability, which matters for compliance and for the incidents when you need to understand what happened first. We've made every Microsoft Build a platform, from Foundry and Copilot Studio to Security Copilot, Teams, and even LinkedIn produce agents with a built-in agent identity. It works just like a vehicle's VIN. Every agent gets a unique identifier from the moment it's created, enabling full lifecycle tracking and clear visibility across logs and systems. That agent ID is now wired through the entire Entra stack, giving agents the same authentication, authorization, governance, identity protection, and network security benefits that users and applications receive today. To solve the harder problem, agent discovery, we have now introduced the agent registry as part of Agent 365, which is a new layer that stores rich metadata for every agent, even those without an Entra ID. This unlocks the broader ecosystem where partners can build and innovate on the top of the platform. Let me zoom out for a moment and chat about how Entra Agent ID and Agent 365 integrate with each other. This slide shows how these pieces fit together. Agent 365 is Microsoft's control plane for agents, where IT and security come together. As agents become part of everyday work, customers need one place to see what agents exist. We also need to see how to manage them across their lifecycle and apply consistent controls. That unified customer-facing registry lives in Agent 365. Microsoft Entra Agent ID plays a critical role here by providing the identity foundation that Agent 365 relies on, but customers interact with Agent 365 as a single control plane for all agents. Underneath that experience, Agent ID provides a durable identity layer that makes those controls possible. Now that we have defined Agent ID at a high level, we will break the solution into 3 simple pillars. And let's look at what that looks like. First, register and manage agents. Get a complete inventory of the agent fleet and ensure new agents are created with identity built in and secure by default, with consistent baseline guardrails. Second, govern agent identities and lifecycle to keep the fleet under control with lifecycle management and clear accountability so agents do not outlive their purpose. And third, protect agents across the resources, reduce risk of breaches by blocking risky agents and preventing access to malicious destinations and resources with policy-based controls. First, let's start with register and manage and what it looks like to get a complete inventory to prevent agent sprawl. Agent ID allows you to register and manage agents, so you start with a complete inventory of your agent fleet. This way, you know what exists across the environment, not just what is created in one tool. Agent ID is integrated with all Microsoft agent factories, including Microsoft Foundry and Microsoft Copilot Studio. That means agents built in those platforms are created with an Agent ID built in. This is how you reduce the blind spots early. If agents are being created across teams, the first risk is not knowing what exists and how it's being used. A complete inventory plus identity built in is what enables accountability and safer scaling. Now that we have covered register and manage, the next step is visibility. Let's see what that looks like. Blueprints are the foundation for the new agent identity that you do see. Blueprints are a reusable template that allows Entra Microsoft Agent ID to create, configure, and govern agent identities consistently. You can think of the blueprint as the parent of the agent identities. The agent identity can have only one blueprint, or a blueprint can have many other agent identities underneath it. Blueprints create agent identities. Blueprints just don't hold information. They're also a special identity type in the Microsoft Entra tenant. A blueprint can perform exactly one operation in the tenant: provision and deprovision agents. Blueprints are essential containers for agent identifiers. Admins can apply policies and settings to agent blueprints, and they will be applied to all identities created from that blueprint. If a class of agents goes bad, I can disable that blueprint and all correspondent agents become also inactive and disabled. Lastly, let's cover how developers can also leverage agent identities. A key piece here is the developer experience. As mentioned, Microsoft Agent Factories already come integrated with Entra Agent ID, so it's really easy. But we understand you will be building agents in other factories that is not within the Microsoft ecosystem. And so in order to do that, we have an open API and SDK so developers can integrate agents from different platforms, including their own custom agents. That way, agents show up in the customer's environment with consistent identity controls. Let us see how we register and manage agents within the Entra Admin Center. First, we are going to go to the Entra ID And then we're going to scroll down to Agent ID. We're going to start in the overview section. Within the overview section, this is a quick and easy way for me to get a quick view of which agents were recently created, active agents, and I'm able to see the agent blueprints that actually have been shared within my organization. This is a quick way for anybody in my organization to understand how many agents exist in the tenant and how many agents actually have agent identities. Next, we're going to go to the All Agent Identities tab. Here, I see a list of all the agents, and I also see how to view all my agent blueprints. We're going to go there. Within the agent blueprints, I'm able to see all the blueprints that actually have agent identities associated with them. We can see some of those blueprints have one agent's identity associated with them and also has some attributes associated with those blueprints. We also see other blueprints that have multiple agent identities associated with them. For example, I'm going to search the Microsoft Copilot Studio blueprint. When I go into this blueprint, I'm able to see all the agent's identities that are associated with them. I can also see the blueprint's access and see what kind of permissions it has. In this case, I see it has graph permissions for create as manager. You can also assign owners and sponsors to this blueprint as well, and it has its own sign-in logs. Now that we've got a good understanding of agent blueprints, I'm going to select and look for an HR agent identity. And I'm going to choose this HR test agent identity. When I click on this agent identity, the first thing I see is the status of that agent identity, whether it's active or disabled. I'm also able to see the people who are named as sponsors of this agent. And then I see all these great attributes that's tied to the agent identity, including when the agent identity was created. I'm also able to see the permissions that this agent identity has, and if it has any conditional access policies associated with it or access packages. Lastly, if I want to manage this agent identity and disable it, I can click on this disable, and boom, the agent identity is disabled. Over to you, Leandro. Tell us how we can govern these agent identities in the Entra Admin Center.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the demo, Nick. So now let's talk about the second pillar, which is around govern agent identities and lifecycle. Once the agent exists, the real challenge is to keep those agents under control over time. This is exactly why the pillar matters. Agent ID allows you and customers to make sure every agent remains accountable, stays aligned, and is intended purpose, and does not accumulate access as teams, projects, and capabilities change. The three key things here that we're going to be covering this section are going to be around assigning sponsor to every agent ID to keep agents under human accountability. The second thing is to manage the agent lifecycle from creation to deactivation at scale, especially with the 1.3 billion agents, as you mentioned before. And then the last thing is to enforce least privilege using access packages, so agents only have what they need as long as they need it. With that, let's do a deep dive into which one of those three main things that I mentioned. The first one is going to be around the sponsors. So now let's take a look about the sponsors. So agents and sponsors are basically the accountability layer for agent. A sponsor is a person or group responsible for the agent's activities and next decisions through the agent lifecycle. The point is to prevent unsupervised or orphan agents. If the original creator leaves the team or the company, the agent still needs a clear owner or a human associate who can review access, approve changes, or retire the agent when it's no longer needed. So we spoke about the sponsors, right? So now let's talk about how we manage and make sure that agents, they always have a human associated. This is done by lifecycle management, and this cannot be manual, right? This is about using preset lifecycle policies to manage the lifecycle of agents and their access. Identify orphan agents and sponsor assignments when ownership changes. The goal here is to reduce human process gaps. As agent counts grow, automation keeps the environment clean, it keeps accountability and access aligned without requiring constant manual follow-up. So we spoke about the lifecycle workflows to make sure the agents always have a sponsor, right? So now this slide is about enforcing auditable access packages. This is to guarantee that agent access is intentional and time-bound. Instead of granting standing permissions that linger, access packages standardize when an agent can request, support approvals, and ensure access expires. That creates a clear audit trail and reduces privilege creep. The result here is a repeatable, consistent access for agents, and agents get what they need to do their job, and you avoid permissions accumulating silently over time. Now, let me show you how everything comes together. So this means in a full lifecycle governance perspective, first you create the agent identity and make sure it has an assigned sponsor. The second thing, the sponsor requests access for the agent, access is approved, and the agent receives what it needs. After that, access is reviewed to maintain least privilege. Access assignments expire, so they do not linger, and the agent identity can be even deleted when it's no longer needed. In addition to that, ongoing auditing and reporting provide continuity so customers can prove what happened and keep the fleet clean over time. Now let's see how the workflows comes together with a demo from Nick.
Let's start in the Entra Admin Center. This time, we're going to go to the Identity Governance Blade, and then we're going to go to Lifecycle Workflows. I've already created a Lifecycle Workflows that triggers whenever a sponsor leaves or moves from a specific team. Let's go look for what that looks like. I'm going to start by clicking on Workflows, and then I'm going to search for Sponsor. Here's my sponsor change. Within the Lifecycle Workflows, I'm going to go and show the tasks which is triggered when a sponsor of an agent leaves or moves from my team. First, an email is sent to the manager of that user that moved. Second, an action is going to be triggered based upon an email that is sent to his manager that the sponsor of that agent is no longer the sponsor of the agent. When these actions are triggered, what happens is a sponsor is automatically assigned to the agent. This ensures the lifecycle of those agents are always governed. Next, we're going to go into entitlements management. And then we're going to go into access packages. Here, I'm going to show a specific access package that actually shows the resources that will be given to a specific agent that is going to be requesting more permissions. I'm going to go to the Policies tab and show that within this policy and this access package, an admin can request access or a sponsor of an agent can request access. I can also see the resource roles that can be given to the specific agent. As you can see, here are graph permissions that can now be given to a specific agent. Now, let's look at the access package when it's requested by a sponsor of an agent. Here in the My Access page, I'm going to go to Access Packages, and I'm going to search for that specific access package that I shared on the admin experience. There it is. I'm going to request access, and I can request access on behalf of an agent that I sponsor. Cool. I'm going to choose this particular agent. When I hit continue, and I'll provide a justification for why I need to give this agent more access. And there you go. When I submit this request, the approver, which can be the manager or a specific designated manager, will get this access package and approve the workflow. And now, when that is approved, the agent gets more permissions to actually do its actions. Now that we've governed the agent identity, over to you, Leandro.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick, for the demo. So now let's talk about the third pillar, which is protecting agent access to resources. Once agents are visible and managed, the next question is how to reduce breach risks as they access resources across the environment. Well, we can provide this protection by enforcing conditional access policies for agents, which blocks agents that are at risk, and also we can protect agents from internet threats. Those are the three key things. The key idea is simple. Agents should not get a free pass because they are automation. They need the same risk-based controls customers already expect for identities. So access decisions stay consistent and responsive as risk changes. Awesome. Now let's see how we can apply conditional access for agents. So conditional access for agents lets customers enforce access policies based on who the agent is and the context it is operating in. The value is that customers can apply access requirements broadly across agents while still keeping fine-grained control where needed. When an agent's risk rises or it is operating outside expected boundaries, policy can restrict or block access automatically. This gives customers a scalable way to keep access aligned to policy as the number of agents and use cases grow. Now let's move from enforcing policy to detecting risk signals that indicate an agent may be compromised. For the one we have ID protection. So ID protection for agents flag risk signals like sudden signing spikes, repeated failed access attempts, or an agent trying to reach unfamiliar resources, for example. When those signals appear, the agent can be flagged as risky and access can be blocked automatically, giving security teams time to investigate without the agent continuing to act. The key idea is speed and consistency. Agents can move quickly, so detection and response needs to move quickly too. We spoke about identity protection. Now, how do we safeguard agents with the network controls that we have here as well? So a key differentiation for Entra is our ability to unify identity and network layer policies and controls. We already do this for humans today, and we are extending the similar capabilities to agents as well. This is critical capability because agents will need to connect to the internet and SaaS destinations to accomplish their goals. That creates exposure to threats like maybe malicious URLs, risky content, and also prompt injection attempts. Network controls add protection by inspecting and filtering where agents go and what they bring back. In plain terms, you can block known bad destinations using threat intelligence filtering, enforce web content and URL filtering to reduce risk access, and apply network file filtering to limit unsafe uploads and downloads. The goal is to help agents stay productive while preventing them from breaching places they should not go. Now let's see how all the pieces they come together with effective zero trust posture for agents. In this slide here, you can see on the left side, for example, where you have the AI agents, as expected, 1.3 billion agents as mentioned before. We have the risk signals for ID protection, such as unfamiliar resource access, signing spike, maybe signing in by a risky user here. And then in the middle, where continuous risk assessment and the network control for secure web plus AI gateway, they come together. They do continuous assessment, and together with conditional access, they can allow or block agent access to resources. Resources such as potentially other agents, users, applications, devices, on-premise devices, all of those. Let's do a quick recap about the three key pillars that we just covered. So the first pillar is around registering and manage AI agents. The key goal here is to discover all the agents in your tenant or your customer environment and also be able to manage them at scale. The second thing we cover about the governance of agent identities, their full life cycle, and make sure there's always a human associated with the agent. And the third one is to protect agent access to resources and enforce policy-based access controls, block risk agent when signals indicate compromise, and also apply the network controls so agents cannot reach malicious destinations. So we start today with our growing agent ID ecosystem. You can build and manage your agents with platforms such as Copilot Studio, Microsoft Foundry, Security Copilot. There are partners from Microsoft that you can integrate already, such as Sierra, Netscape, Zscaler, or you can get early access via A365, and the growing number of partners are already leveraging the control plane from Microsoft. So get started with Microsoft Entra Agent ID. Visit our webpage in order to learn more. You can read our technical documentations to help you get started, and most importantly, try now. So this was the third webinar as part of the series, and next week we're going to have one more to increase security and productivity with AI agents. With that, on behalf of Nick and I, thank you so much for joining the session, and I hope to see you in the next one.